Welcome back, Eleanor Victoria Stories. My mother-in-law's country house always reminded me of a set from some movie about successful American life, perfectly trimmed lawn designer, furniture-heated pool. Audrey, my mother-in-law, perfectly matched this picture. Successful realtor, country club member, wellness enthusiast Bill. Thanks for coming. She met me at the entrance in her signature Ralph Lauren tracksuit. There are some heating problems with the pool. You know about this stuff, right? Yes, a little, I nodded, trying not to notice how the fitted fabric accentuated her figure for her 55 years. Audrey looked stunning. Regular workouts and spa treatments did their job. Come on. I'll show you, by the way. How's Jenny? She asked about my wife. Her daughter, on a business trip to Boston, returns in a week. Yes, she mentioned these constant trips of hers. I was a workaholic at her age, too. We walked through the house to the pool on the way. I noticed a new addition. What's this? Oh, this is my new passion. Audrey's eyes lit up. A real Finnish sauna brought the idea from my last trip to Scandinavia. She opened the door and the scent of cedar and eucalyptus wafted out. A spacious room with wooden benches, traditional stone stove. Impressive, I said. Honestly. Wait, you don't know the best part. I practice real Scandinavian traditions, contrast therapy, sauna, then pool sauna. Again sounds extreme. Oh, it's an amazing sensation, Audrey gestured animatedly. First, the heat penetrates to your bones, then ice-cold water. All senses heighten, every cell in your comes alive. I caught myself staring too intently at her neck covered with a light sheen of sweat. So, what's wrong with the heating? I quickly changed the subject. Yes, of course, something's acting up here. She bent over the control panel and I, involuntarily on her figure, I spent the next hour tinkering with the system settings. Audrey sat nearby, handing tools, asking questions. She smelled of some floral perfume. Done, I finally said, wiping my hands. Just temperature settings got mixed up. Perfect. Just in time to try it out. She smiled mysteriously. You're not in a hurry, are you actually, Bill? You must try a real Scandinavian sauna. I was just about to start my evening session. Come on, it'll be our little secret, Audrey. I'm not sure. Don't be silly. Do you have swim shorts in your car? No problem. I have my ex-husband's swim trunks. I wanted to refuse, but something in her voice, in her gaze, made me agree. Okay, but not for long. Wonderful. She beamed. Go change. And remember, this isn't just a sauna. It's an ancient tradition of cleansing and spirit changing in the locker room. I thought I might be making a mistake, but there was something captivating about this situation, about this new, unfamiliar Audrey. When I came out of the changing room, Audrey was already in the sauna through the glass door. I could see her silhouette wrapped in a white towel come in. She waved. I was just about to pour water on the stones. It was about 90 degrees in the sauna. I sat on the lower bench, trying to maintain distance. Oh, no, Audrey shook her head. Real heat is only at the top. Come up here. I awkwardly moved to the upper bench. The towel on Audrey slipped slightly, exposing her shoulder in Finland. I tried a real sauna for the first time. She poured aromatic water on the stones. It was a revelation, you know? They can steam for hours. Their steam enveloped us in a thick cloud. The first drops of sweat ran down my back. And in Sweden, Audrey continued, I learned the technique of contrast bathing first, sauna, then an ice lake. I choked on air. Yes, they cut holes in the ice in winter. Can you imagine? The pool isn't as extreme, but the effect is similar. She poured more water on the stones. The heat intensified. Have you ever thought about visiting Scandinavia? Audrey turned to me in the SAA's dim light, her eyes. Sparks sparkled in a special way. Never had the chance. I tried to focus on the conversation, not on the sweat drops trickling down her neck. Jenny said, You like to travel before? Yes? Now it's mostly work. I know she sighed. I was the same. Work-home obligations. Then I realized life was passing by. Divorced George started traveling. Jenny still struggles with your divorce. I know, smiled sadly, but sometimes you need to think about yourself by the way time to dive. What right now? Of course, the most important thing. Don't think, just do. She stood up, holding her towel in the dim light. Her figure seemed almost unreal. Come on, we jump in the pool on 3. Wait, maybe 1. She was already at the pool's edge, Audrey. 2. I stood beside her like a complete idiot. 3. She dropped her towel, remaining in a one-piece swimsuit, and jumped. I mechanically followed her. The ice-cold water burned my skin for a second. I lost orientation, then surfaced, gasping for air. Amazing, isn't it? Audrey laughed, sputtering, and indeed, it was amazing. Every nerve, every muscle tingled from the temperature. Contrast, an unprecedented surge of energy. Now quickly back to the sauna, she commanded. We climbed out of the pool. I tried not to watch how water ran down her, how the wet swimsuit clung to her skin. You know, Audrey said when we returned to the sauna, there's a belief in Norway. They say true, emerge in the sauna, heat and cold, strip away all masks. She looked at me in a way that took away, and it wasn't just because of the air ready for round 2, she asked, reaching for the water. Ladle. I nodded, understanding that this night could change everything, and somehow that thought no longer scared me. The second round proved even more intense than the first. Audrey threw some herbs on the stones that made my head spin. It's eucalyptus and juniper, she explained. Helps relax. Let go of all worries, it's working. I admitted. Reality was beginning to feel hazy, like in a half-dream. In Sweden, I lived in a small town by a lake. Audrey spoke quietly, almost whispering. They had a tradition gathering in the communal sauna in the evenings. You know what I thought? Looking at those people, what about how we're trapped in our social roles? Husband, wife, mother-in-law, son-in-law. But there, all that loses meaning. Only real emotions remain real. She moved closer. I could smell her perfume mixed with the scent of herbs. Bill, are you happy with Jenny? The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask? Because I see how you've been living these past years like a robot. Work home rare dinners with a wife who's always traveling. Audrey, no, listen, my shoulder. I lived such a life with George, 20 years of pretense until I realized this isn't living time to dive. I stood up abruptly. We needed to stop this conversation. Wait. She held my hand. Are you afraid of what you're... I'm not anything. I lied, really. She stood next to me. Close. Too close, then. Why is your heart beating so fast? It's from the heat. No, Bill, it's from life. Real life, breaking through all prohibitions and conventions. We stood by the pool. Steam rose from the water, creating bizarre patterns. Count of 3, she whispered. Count of 3, but instead of counting, she suddenly moved closer, and lightly my cheek to reel. She whispered, and jumped into the water. I dove after her. The cold burned but I barely noticed my head was filled only with her scent. Her words. We surfaced simultaneously. You know, Audrey said, looking into my eyes, in Norway, they say temperature, contrast, sharpens. Not only thee, but also the soul makes you feel what you hide from yourself. And what am I hiding? Instead of answering, she swam closer. Her hand slid across my... The same thing I am, she whispered. The desire to live, to feel, to love. Audrey. We shouldn't She put her finger to my... Don't think, just feel. We stood in the water, looking into each other's eyes. Time stopped. There was only us, moonlight, and the quiet splash of water. Come, she finally said. Last round in the sauna, the most important one, and I followed her, knowing there was no way back. The sauna was dark. Only moonlight filtered through the small window near the ceiling. Audrey poured more water on the stones, but now, with different herbs, the air filled with an intoxicating aroma. It's a special Scandinavian blend. Her voice sounded muffled. For special occasions, she sat next to me so close I could feel her warmth. Water drops still ran down her skin, turning to steam. You know what I've been thinking about all these years? Audrey spoke quietly almost, whispering about how strangely life is arranged. We all play some roles, hide behind masks. Her hand, my shoulder, the burned more than the steam, mother-in-law, son-in-law. She laughed bitterly. What silly labels, and beneath them, living people real on Audrey. No. Listen. She turned to me. I saw your glances stolen when you thought no one noticed, saw how you changed around me. How you're changed. I remained silent. What could I say? She was right all these years. I'd carefully pushed away thoughts of her, convinced myself it was just imagination. And she moved even closer. I noticed you too. Your hands, your smile, your gaze. Do you know how hard it was to pretend indifference? Moonlight played on her skin, turning water drops to silver in the half-light. Her eyes seemed almost black. We shouldn't, I whispered, but my hands were already sliding over her shoulders. Shouldn't, she pressed closer. Is there anything in life besides this moment, here and now? The was careful, almost chaste, the second hungry, demanding the AA's heat and passion clouded our minds. Wait. She one more time in the water for contrast. We ran to the pool. Moonlight silvered the water. Audrey slipped into my arms together. She whispered together. We fell into the water without breaking our embrace. The cold burned our skin, but we barely noticed. There were only then there was the sauna again. Heat and cold, passion and tenderness merged into one reality, dissolved in a stream of sensations. Time stopped. We forgot everything. Social roles, prohibitions, consequences. There were only us two. Moonlight and the intoxicating aroma of Scandinavian herbs. Audrey was right. The temperature contrast heightened it was like some ancient ritual where elements intertwined, fire and water, heat and cold. Later, when we lay on loungers by the pool, wrapped in towels, she said, "You know what's the meaning of this Scandinavian tradition? What purification through contrast, through overcoming, through accepting your true desires?" I remained silent, looking at the stars. My head was pleasantly foggy, my weightless. What now? I finally asked. Does something have to happen? She turned to me. Maybe we just accept this moment as a gift, as a reminder that we're alive. The first strip of light appeared in the pre-dawn sky. Soon, a new day would begin, and we'd have to return to our roles, to our masks. But now there was only this, us stars overhead, and the quiet splash of water in the pool. I returned home at dawn, the scent of eucalyptus still in my head. My skin remembered the temperature contrasts. Shower didn't help. I could still feel Audrey's. My phone was exploding with Jenny's calls. Finally, I answered, "Yes, honey Bill, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all night. Sorry, I was busy with your mom's pool." My tongue stumbled over the double meaning of that phrase. All night, suspicious notes appeared in Jenny's voice. There was a serious problem with the heating system, had to work on it, and you couldn't answer your phone. Left it in the car. Didn't want it to get wet. The lies came easier and easier. That was frightening. "Okay, Jenny?" Sigh. "How's Mom? She's been acting strange lately." Strange. My mouth go dry. "Yes." More alive. Somehow after the divorce from Dad, she seems younger, especially after that trip to Scandinavia. Maybe the changes did her good. I tried to speak evenly. Maybe listen. "I'm coming back tomorrow. Not next week, boss." Shortened the trip. My heart jumped tomorrow. "Yes, isn't it great? I've missed you so much." Of course, great. After the conversation, I sat in the chair for a long time, staring. At one point tomorrow Jenny would return. We would have dinner together, talk about her trip plan the weekend, and in a couple of days we'd go to Audrey's for the traditional family dinner. We'd sit at the same time table, smile, exchange pleasantries. The phone vibrated. Message from Audrey. Can't stop thinking about last night, about the contrasts of temperatures, and I started typing a reply. Deleted. It started again. What could one say? Me neither. I finally wrote Jenny's, "Coming back tomorrow." Yes, I understand. Pretend nothing happened. I stared at the screen, not knowing how to respond. Pretend? Forget. Is that possible? Probably for the best. I wrote probably. But you know what, Bill? I'll never forget that moment in the pool, when the moon reflected in your eyes. I closed my eyes, memories flooded back her whispers. The herb scent in the sauna. I need to think, I wrote. Of course, just don't think too long. Sometimes it's better to just feel. I went out to the balcony. The morning air was fresh and clean somewhere in the distance. Dawn was breaking. What had I done? How could I look Jenny in the eyes now? How could I sit at the same table with Audrey pretending nothing happened? The phone vibrated again. P.S. The sauna will be waiting for you every Thursday, so will I. I should have deleted this message, should have blocked the number, should have done everything to forget this night. Instead, I wrote until Thursday, and somehow for the first time in a long while, truly alive, the week passed, like in a fog. Jenny returned. We went to restaurants, watched movies, made love, all as usual. Only I was somewhere far away in the sauna by the pool. Under moonlight on Thursday, I said, I'd be working late. Jenny didn't even seem surprised. She was used to my late returns. Driving up to Audrey's house, I noticed another car in the driveway, a red Lexus. What the hell? I muttered. Parking around the corner, the front door was ajar. Voices came from inside, male and female. I recognized Audrey's laugh. Something inside me broke. Of course, I wasn't the only man in her life. What made me think that night meant anything? I was about to leave when the door opened and a tall, gray-haired man appeared. "See you at the club, dear." He waved. "And thanks for the documents." "A realtor. Just a realtor." Bill, Audrey noticed me. "You're early, I can leave. Don't be silly me inside, just signing papers to sell the house sell. Yes, I'm moving. That was a gut punch. Where to Sweden?" I stared at her, not believing my ears. "You see?" She ran her hand across my cheek that night. It opened my eyes. I realized I can't live my old life anymore, and you're just leaving. What do you suggest? Continue meeting in secret? Destroy Jenny's life? She was right. Damn right, when in a month we'll have time to say goodbye. She smiled mischievously. The sauna is already heated, but instead of following her, I stood still. "You know," I said, looking into her eyes, "I can't live my old life anymore either. What do you mean I filed for divorce yesterday?" Now it was her turn to be surprised, but why? Because you were right about masks, roles real. "I don't want to pretend anymore, Bill. I can't ask you to." "Then, don't I? Her close, just tell me." "Are there good saunas in Sweden?" She laughed, "The best in the world, and room for one more person." Always we stood embracing in her house's hall. Outside rain was starting. "Jenny will hate us," Audrey whispered. "Maybe. But one day she'll understand. Understand what that sometimes you just need to follow your heart like you did after your divorce, like I'm doing now." Audrey looked at me for a long moment. "The sauna is waiting," she finally said. "Last time in this house. Last time. Pretending. Last time hiding. We went upstairs in a month. Everything would change. New country. New life. New possibilities. But now there were only us, steam cold water, and of absolute freedom. Contrast of temperatures, contrast of contrast between past and future, and somewhere in this contrast, our new reality was being born." Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our Eleanor Victoria stories.